welcome to another episode of Opening the Package, Toy Collecting with Ian Brazee-Cannon. So today's episode will be my Lego minifigure special. So I will talk about Lego minifigures, which I think is a fun little thing to collect. Now, of course, I don't have the oldest Lego minifigures, which actually were really just Lego blocks, slightly shaped like people. But I do have your basic traditional Lego minifigure. Now, this is a very iconic toy. You know, you have the yellow happy face head, you have the very simplistic body, the little C-shaped hands, you know, very simple, really. And yet this, these figures have been around for 30 years now with, I'll go through some of the changes as we go, but the basic iconic style of the figure has not changed. You have like Mega Bloks and stuff, which have tried to take on the minifigure thing, and they've gone all sorts of different directions, but Lego, realizing how iconic this is, did not change it in all this time. So, this is definitely one of those things that people recognize. This is, Lego. So, like I said, the Lego minifigure has been around for 30 years now. It came out basically late 70s into early 80s. It originally wasn't what you see now, but they shaped it like that, and originally they almost all were this plain and looked like that. There wasn't too much to them. Now, in 1978, of course, they introduced a space line, which this is a commemorative one. This is supposed to be the same style of the original space line, except for the helmet's different. The original helmets did not have the curved look. They did not have the indentations for the visors, which came out, I believe, mid-80s into the 90s, somewhere around there. But originally they were a simpler helmet that just had a rectangle to see the face through it, and not the more motorcycle style helmet you see here. So this is actually an inaccurate representation. It was a commemorative. You can see it, the space scene, 1978. But so basically about this time they came out with the space line, they came out with the Knights, and they started doing a little bit more with the minifigures, paint-wise, accessory-wise. You can see the air tanks and stuff. And so that was, late 70s into early 80s where they were doing all that. Still, the minifigures were fairly simple at that point in time. They weren't doing that much with them. It'd basically just be different colored shirts, slight, mild paint job. As you can see there, the only paint is the logo, which they still use today. But that was about as simple as their paint jobs get. Now, they have changed a lot over the years. And one of the new things they did, you saw, I opened up with the logo from these. These are the collector sheets from the Lego minifigure collector line. Now, basically, a few years ago, Legos realized the popularity of their minifigures and said, hey, why don't you make a collectibles line of them? And so every, I believe it's every 4 months, they release a new series of 16 minifigures that are from all over the place. There's no real theme per se per each series. They just have 16 characters they think would be fun to do. And it varies between completely new characters and remakes of old ones. And so that's a prime example I'm about to show you of the changes. Now here is an early Lego Pirates. I'm not trying to look up specifics is a bit hard, so I'm not sure where he came in at. But you can still see the basic Lego, the little happy face and stuff. Simplistic paint job, a few little accessories. It has the hooked hand and the peg leg. Those have been around for a while now. And then here is a recently done collectible minifigure. First off, if you look at the face, you can see it is a really more elaborate paint job than your little happy face with an eye patch and stubble. Okay? There's some emotion there and stuff. As well as, if you look at the chest, that is a much more detailed paint job than that. It's not coming as focused as I'd like, but you can still tell there is a noticeable difference in the quality of paint job, when in essence these are about the same figure. The helmet, they put a lot more detail in, but this was just a figure with the set. This is a specific collectible minifigure. So you can kind of see one of the things they're doing with the minifigures. If they're redoing the character, they'll put a lot more detail in, a lot more work. And they're making them, more than just what you got, I should say, in the sets. Because you are starting to get this quality of the minifigure even in the big sets. Not only collectibles, but the big sets. So there's a lot of great stuff going on with minifigures. Like I said, this was just to me, a great way to see the comparison of where they came from and where they are now. So, where are they now? Well, another way to show that is Aliens. Now, Legos has had the space line out, as you see, from 1978, but it took a while for them to get to the Aliens. And their first Aliens are these guys from the Mars Attack series, who basically, they have some cool accessories and they have cool masks, and that's what their faces looked like. And they had all sorts of different ones. Yeah. Here's another one. Take the mask off, and you get not quite. It's not showing up too well. Do need better lighting, but so these are like the early Lego Aliens. Now, of course, they've become more elaborate. You had from the Space Police this guy, which is a complete unique head instead of just being the standard Lego head with something on it. This is a complete unique head, which is one thing they've done for several different lines. I'll show you some other examples in a moment. Then, here's another really unique head. Now, interestingly enough, see, this guy was not only part of the Space Police or Space Precincts, I'm trying to remember what they were called, but they also reused his mold for a collectible minifigure. So that head you just saw was originally, for one, reused for another. This is one of those cases where I don't think they did too much to him, but it was a cool way to be able to get that head and not have to buy the Lego minifigure, or the complete Lego set it came with. Now, another one they did was your more standard gray alien, which is actually kind of cool. Complete new head. Fairly simplistic though, which is interesting. As I was saying, the collectible minifigures are trying to do a little more. In his case, like I said, a completely new head sculpt that had never been done before, which is they often do is brand new things that they're, I guess, going to have out there now for future other sets. Then, of course, they did the Alien Empress. This was based off the Alien Invasion line they just finished up, which was kind of cool. This is a female one that was not released there, but was only released through the minifigures. Of course, what's kind of cool, you can see what you have there is a pink traditional Lego head with an alien face around it, and then you have the brain cavity, or whatever you want to call it, the brain cap that goes on top to give you the complete look. So they definitely are kind of elaborate in some of what they're doing. So the aliens have come a long way since they introduced them, but so have the spacemen. Okay, so we have him that I showed you a little bit ago, represents the classic spaceman minifigure, and then you have this style now, with new, more detailed helmet, kind of more elaborate paint job. Now this guy's obviously a bad guy. He's supposed to be more of a space pirate. You have the robotic arm, peg leg. You can see the detail on his face, all the cybernetics. So, and he was a collectible minifigure. He has the Blacktron logo. Now, Blacktron was a line that was introduced at one point for, supposed to be the bad guys in the space theme. And they still somewhat use the logo, but that's the Blacktron logo to represent he's part of the Blacktron group, the bad guys. Now, they've also, I told you earlier, they're still using the classic space logo. This is a female space warrior. I do believe it's the first one they ever did. She's pink, okay. She has the interchangeable hair and pink helmet, and that's supposed to represent a female. Although if you watch the classic web series Red versus Blue, there's some jokes you can go about the pink armor. But then they went and they made it even cooler. This is their new Space Marines, and they have some pretty beefed up armor there. Still using the classic logo for this Lego spaceman, but he has, actually, he's pretty beefed up. Now, one of the cool things about this guy is he has a thing that they've been doing for a little while, where you have two sides of his head. Basically, you take the head off. I'm not going to do it here because these guys are actually a little hard to get to. But one side of the Lego head is that face. The other side is that face. So you can actually turn the head around and have different emotions. I'll show you a better example of that here in just a little bit. So yeah, that's the Lego Space Marine guy. Beefed up armor, really cool looking. I've seen them use this armor for some superhero stuff as well. But it looks really cool. And then they, of course, came out with doing the almost same thing, but he's an alien. I do need better lighting for this. You can see his green skin. Let's see if I can... Okay, let's turn it off. And you can see his alien face. He's kind of a monstrous thing. So right here you have a mixture of the two. You have the aliens and the Space Marine guys kind of coming together to form a new figure. Very well detailed. Love the paint job on him. You can see the knees and stuff. I'll show you some better examples of paint job here in just a moment. So that's the space line. They also, going off of space line, they did the Exo-Force a few years ago, which was a really cool line because it was basically saying, hey, let's do anime style. So, you have crazy anime style hair. Now, I may be wrong here, but I do believe these are the first guys that had the reversible faces. See, I'll take the head off. There's his psycho angry face, and there's his kind of just browdy, I don't know what face you want to call that. But, so, you could basically turn the head around, have a whole different face, give them different expressions. I kind of like the psycho angry, but basically all the... See, there's your calm, peaceful face for him, and you're kind of doing something wicked smile. So, all the Exo-Force good guys had faces like that, and like I said, I just love the hair. I mean, that's your anime-style crazed hair. Now, of course, they fought the robots, which were an interesting thing. A whole new mold, which is not that... At that point, it's pretty more and more common to do this, let's do a whole new mold for... something instead of just taking the basic figure. But if you look at, there's still some of the traditional stuff. The feet are still compatible with Legos. The hands are still fairly simple. They don't do anything elaborate detail-wise with the hands ever. And so, oftentimes now they do a whole new mold for the mini figure. If it's a villain or something else, I'll show you a few more examples, such as they did a series, I can't remember it now, but where the guys would rock diggers or something like that, and the bad guys there were these little rock cruncher guys, which had big old mouths. And you can see the lava version, and he does the same thing. Now this one I got as a keychain and cut the keychain part off, so that's not usual. Normally they were completely open, so you could put like a crystal in there. But the keychains, sometimes you can find at real good deals. If you cut the keychain part off, they look almost like normal ones. But in his case, he has a long tube in the middle, which would be hard to get rid of, and he looks fine without it. So another new mold they did for the purposes of a new creature, new enemy kind of thing, is a skeleton. And this is the original. And you can see it kind of has wobbly arms that are held on just by a little peg and stuff. And recently they've changed it so that the arms are a bit more stable and held on better. You can see a difference in the style of the body. The legs are a little shorter now. Not by much, but a little. You can kind of tell if you look. In this case, he has shoes, which they don't all have. But this is from the Ninjago line, which they did some funky stuff with the looks. But in general, this is once more showing the changes they've made over the years. They've also done a Ghost, which the Ghost is one of the most plain-looking minifigures you can find, with a glow-in-the-dark ghost thing over it. Now, they have redone the Ghost a few times with a slightly different face. I know the newest Ghost out is a much more elaborate face. Go out and find it. But with the collectible minifigures line, they've done all sorts. I mean, they've covered everything. You have the Gangster, really well detailed. You have like Three Musketeers style guy. You have Magician. I mean, they've tried to cover everything. You have the punk rockers. I love them. The Mohawk. I thought that was a very cool new little hairpiece. But, you know, they got guitars and stuff now. Got the Mad Scientist, one of my favorites. Almost back to kind of the anime style hair, which is cool. And he looks kind of like Dr. Horrible. Hopefully you know that pop culture reference. Got the Hazmat Worker, which was actually pretty cool. Nice little armor piece there that has a lot of potential use in the future. Which is one of the nice things to see in the minifigs is when they come out with something that, hey, that I could definitely see that popping up sometime in the other sets for different use, because that's one cool thing about Legos is the whole variety to it. Of course, we have the kind of more standard robot, which you have the helmet face and the inside face, both robots, and they went and they did a dark version of it, black to signify he's evil. So I kind of like that, you know, good, bad, almost looking identical. Let's see what else we have. Now they did do, before they got the rights to Indiana Jones, which I'll go into the rights for a while, they tried to do their own Indiana Jones thing. And here's the hero from that. I forget what his name officially is, but it was a little adventure set, very Indiana Jones styled. Let's see, in the minifigures they've done a Minotaur, which is another one where basically it's the head sculpt is completely unique, doesn't hook onto a regular style head. So, we got, now they did the Atlantis series, which is basically underwater guys. In his case, he's a shark. The head's soft, or softer. These are softer metal. This is a giant fish. So you can see kind of, you know, some of the stuff they've done with the heads over the years. I haven't seen them doing this since, and they did these, and I think they cut back because these are a bit crazy. So that, sorry, trying to look what else I got. Now we got, this is an interesting thing they've done. Interesting enough, this is the only example of this I brought. I thought I had grabbed more, but, so this is the Ogre. Now you can see he has one big eye. If you open it up, it is a standard Lego head with a big eye on it. But that itself is its own face. It has a smile, it has a mouth and an eye. So that itself would work. It is also one of the interchangeable ones where both sides have it. But what you have is you have a face that could stand on its own with a outer piece to make it more elaborate. But it's a face as well. It's not like a helmet or something. It is the head. So that you have multiple choices on how to do the head here. Now, here's also an example of some of the paint jobs they've been doing. Because normally, traditionally, you only have the front painted. But now, with the collectible minifigures, they are doing the backs as well. So what you get is you get an all-around figure. And it's not just the chest pieces. With the collectible minifigures, they will paint the arms and legs and stuff and get more and more elaborate. And so, they'll put a little more effort into it. That's why, they're the collectible minifigures. Another good example, where is he? I had him here a moment ago. I don't see him. Oh, well, okay, we'll skip that. But so that shows you some. They've done stuff like orcs, which are really cool, I think. And you have one of my personal favorites, the wind-up robot. He is really cool. You can see the wind-up key right there. I love the detail. He looks like a classic wind-up robot toy, but as a Lego, so it's a really cool little mix of things. The iconic Lego body with a classic robot, wind-up robot toy style to it. It's like, this is cool. This is some of the stuff I love seeing with the collectible minifigures because they can kind of play around and do some more unique stuff. Oh, here's the one I was going to show you. That is a really fun example of the painting. Now, initially, it looks like a gorilla, but it is a guy in a gorilla suit. Now you can see, yeah, see yellow silver wall. You can see the sweat. He's actually sweating. Talk about fun little detail, because of course he's in this heavy gorilla suit. The other fun little detail is he has a zipper on the back. So this is one of those fun little things they can do. You know, it's like he's in a gorilla suit and he has a zipper, has a sweat. It's like, you know, fun. Here it looks like could easily pass as a Lego gorilla, but it's a guy in a gorilla suit. So they're doing some fun stuff with the minifigures. Of course, they've done animals. Got the shark. Very basic. They've gotten a little more elaborate over the years. These are the older ones, the more classic. Horse, which has been around for like forever. This, I believe this horse mold was introduced way back when, about the same time as the Space Guys. So you're talking about, you know, late 70s for the horse mold. You have the classic dragons, which I have a whole arm of. These things are, I just remember how cool they were. They've changed it. They don't do them like this anymore. But you know, you could put, they had a little peg right there. You could actually put fire and have them breathing fire. But this is the classic dragon. And, of course, you got the monkey. So they've done animals. Now, one of the big things that happened in the 90s was Lego started to get licensing rights. It's amazing it took them this long. I mean, it took from the point where Lego blocks were starting to be made to the point they got the licensing rights, you know, way, you know, we're talking about 50 years, I think. I'll have to look that up, but at least 40, if not more. Now, the first big licensing rights they got was Star Wars. So, of course, they did your basic characters. You got Luke, Vader, you know, this was right before this was before the prequels came out, so the initial stuff focused on the classics. R2, which was really cool. Now, if you look, that is still the traditional yellow head. So, one of the things that changed because of Star Wars is they started doing flesh-colored heads. See, that's flesh-colored Luke, yellow Luke. So, suddenly, the skin, you know, you went from the yellow to the licensing guys that are based off of movies and stuff could do the flesh tone. They still, if you have the traditional Lego figures, like the punk rock guys, or traditional Lego figures, they are still being done in the yellow. But if they're licensed, they are done in the flesh tones. So this is the special ceremonial Luke that only came with a book that my boys got that goes through the Lego Star Wars Lego minifigures. But you know, he is the flesh tone compared to the non. So after that, all of them started coming in flesh tone. You had the Indiana Jones line, which was another fun little licensing they just did. They got licensing rights from Disney, and they played with them. You have Captain Jack Sparrow, flesh tones. Once more, this is really more recent. So, you know, and you can look at the detail. I mean, that headpiece is very elaborate, and he is one of the ones to have double face, and you can see there's a paint job on the back, so that's becoming more common. They did Toy Story, which you have the little green men, which are really cool, and these are one of my favorites from Toy Story that they did, the Army Men. And I love this. I mean, this is kind of going backwards because, I mean, you kind of take the detail out, but that works for them. They're all green, so everything gets cast in green. The paint job's simple. You know, the face and the stuff, it doesn't need to be elaborate. These are green Army men. They were never elaborate. So you got fun stuff like that they can do. And it's real simple. It made sense. And they even have their own special bases that are your standard green plastic Army Men base. So, you know, they play around with that. They did do Spider-Man at one point, and they actually got Marvel again. They had Spider-Man at the time the movies first came out. So the first two movies have Lego figures. Then the third movie it moved on to Mega Blocks. And just recently they got the rights to Marvel back. So that, they're doing Spider-Man again. But this is the original Spider-Man Lego. Very well detailed. And of course, when we're talking about having the rights to Marvel, they are doing the Avengers. Whoa. course, Hulk. Now, interestingly enough, we do have a Hulk they did that is this sized, but my boys lost it. It was a special limited figure only available through the Lego store and mail away offers and stuff, I think. But it was kind of cool. I wish we could find it, but this is the way the Hulk is now. And you can see the huge body, which is, completely new mold. And they've done this a few times. I'll show you another example. Actually, going into Lord of the Rings. The Rock Troll. So, the Rock Troll is bigger than the Hulk, but it's stylized the same. Huge body. If you look, the feet are actually the same size, which is basically the size of a 6-peg brick, standard 6-pegger. So, well, it's bigger. His feet are in the end the same size, and their hands, both are made to hold something about the size of the leg. So they can pick up guys and throw them around. Both their hands are like that. The Rock Troll has a couple extra pegs on there. I guess you can put stuff on his head. Hulk doesn't get that. And, so, alright, we're going to take a break. So you can see that, they've done some interesting stuff. They also have a troll for the castle set I don't have any of to show you, which is, same style, huge bulky figure. We've talked about the Hobbit before. They're doing Lord of the Rings, so you have Samwise and Frodo. You have Gandalf. And so, if you pick up all sets, you can get the whole Fellowship of the Rings, and with the Hobbit, you can get the actually, we tried to count it. It doesn't look like all the dwarves are out yet. I might be wrong on that, but we went through all the sets and wait a moment, there's only, I believe, 11 dwarves, so it's still 2 dwarves to go, but the Hobbit has 2 more movies, and they'll definitely be releasing more sets. But you can get most of the dwarves right now. And of course, going back a bit, I just showed you the licensing stuff. Interesting enough, that all started a while back, before they really licensing were a bit funkier. They were doing a movie magic set. Now, one of the things they had was the director. He is basically Steven Spielberg. He's on the back. Director. So, they've done likenesses before, but I don't think this was officially licensed. Although, I'm trying to remember the whole thing with the movie maker. It didn't last long. It was basically supposed to be stunts and stuff, and there was a whole movie studio set you could buy to actually make movies via web camera kind of thing. So, this was the early stage that led to the whole licensing they have now. Obviously, through the nearly 50 years now, because I think the first very vague minifigures that came out were in the early 70s. So, no, 40 years. I apologize. So nearly 40 years now of minifigures. They've, once more, they've kept the same basic iconic shape and style. They have come a long way from this guy to a lot of what you're seeing now. And so, it's definitely a fun evolution to see what's going on with the minifigures. And, they're still pumping them out. This is really only a handful. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of minifigures out there with all sorts of different styles. Different hairs, different looks to them. They've done quite a bit, especially now it's booming with, they're on Series 9 of them out. They have a Series 10 and 11 ready to go pretty much. And this covers everything. So, there's the minifigures for practically anything you can think of now. You just have to hunt it down. And it's becoming a booming business. You don't even have to buy them in the sets. There are places that do nothing but specialize in minifigures. They basically buy the set, take it apart. You can buy the individual minifigures, so you don't have to pay the $80, $100, $170, whatever for the set if you just want a couple minifigures from it. Although, admittedly, they can be quite pricey. I know my boys picked this one up at Denver Comic Con last year, and I think they paid like $30, $35 for just him. and it normally comes with a $70 set. So, if you go that route, it can be expensive, but not as expensive as buying the whole set, just if you wanted one minifigure. So I hope you've enjoyed my little episode here on Lego minifigures. They are a collection that I enjoy going after and pursuing. All sorts of fun pieces, covering everything. If you can't find a Lego minifigure that is cool, then you're not looking hard enough. I don't care what your passion is, they've covered everything practically. So if you have an interest, you can find a Lego minifigure that fits it. Once more, feel free to email me at opentpackage@gmail.com.